Don't mind me, just a grand return to YouTube, I guess. Hey, hi everybody. Gosh, it's been a long time, probably 7 years or so, which is wild to me. I can't believe I'm almost 30. I can't believe we survived a pandemic. I can't believe a lot of things, but I'm really happy to be here today. I ended up doing a poll on Instagram of what you really wanted to see. It was more just from a content generation standpoint and ways I can be helpful in this space, because it's something I'm incredibly passionate about and love more than most things. And I was hoping to gain your feedback and understand more about types of videos or blog posts that you would like to see. My personal love is writing, so I do a lot of that on my blog, which I will be linking below for you to check out. But figured today this might be a little bit easier just for the two of us to talk about and really understand just how I delve and plan trips and how itineraries are born and made, because it is a question I do get a lot of the time. I get asked to make itineraries or bucket lists, so I'll be getting into that with you today. So first things first, when I go to plan or when I go to pick a destination, really, I typically have in the back of my mind what types of destinations I'm looking to visit. It definitely depends a lot on several key factors though. So for me, it's gonna definitely be the time of year. So working full time, definitely have to take into consideration the time I have off, as well as the time of year that would be occurring. So say for example, I'm looking for the best season to go to Peru. So I'm gonna go into Google and type in best season to visit Peru, and typically it will give you a range on Google of the months or dates and times that are the best to visit Peru or the Inca Trail. Not only am I looking for the best time of year to visit a place, I'm also going to be looking at what the off season is for that, or the shoulder season. Typically you can find a lot better deals when you're going through a period that isn't as busy. I know sometimes it's so great to visit places at high peak times. I have done it before. I went to Bali during peak time in the summertime, which is technically December, and I really enjoyed that experience, but ultimately it can lead to a more expensive price tag. So typically I will look at the best times of year to go, as well as the shoulder season. And honestly, once I've picked a destination that I'm really passionate about going to, I'm going to skip a few steps and tell you to post about it. So this is kind of a funny story. When I travel or I look for a destination, and I can do an entire separate video on solo travel, but for me, I don't rely on other people to get out there, do the traveling. I know most people are not like that. My boyfriend is actually one of them. He does not like to travel without people, and that's completely fine with me. I'm good with it. I reap the benefits, so thank you, Mark. There is somebody interested in going, and you'd be amazed. Some people really are interested in doing that. Sometimes you'll even find that people will come out of nowhere. I had the similar experience when I had a trip to Slovenia, as well as Austria and Germany last year in 2019. And I had a friend of mine actually DM me on Instagram when I posted about it and say, oh my gosh, I wanna come. How do I join your trip? So skipping a couple steps because you haven't even booked your flight yet, but it might be a good idea if you are searching for companionship during your trip to highlight that online to be able to have somebody to join you into the flights. So I use a couple different methods to find cheaper flights. I will do an entire separate video if you'd like on the credit cards that I use to be able to utilize miles to get flights essentially for free. But what I really like to do is go and scour Google the internet. So I'm going to be going online to places like skyscanner.com, to be able to search for a flight at the cheapest rate, or going to be utilizing my internal credit card portal to be able to do so. Another important thing to note when looking for flights as well is to turn your Google Chrome into incognito mode. I actually learned this a couple of years ago from a fellow blogger and has helped a lot as far as comparing and contrasting prices, because sometimes apparently with Google Chrome it can heighten the rates at certain times, and you want to be getting the most cheap rate as far as flights are concerned, because that's arguably where a lot of the money is going into for your trip. Another great thing about utilizing something like Skyscanner is you can set an alarm to be able to monitor a certain date or time that you're interested in leaving, and Skyscanner will email you when the cheapest rates occur. I actually did utilize this when I was booking a trip to Yacht Week back in 2018. The flights from London to Croatia were incredibly expensive for some reason during that time. It was summer, so I definitely can see how it would be crazy expensive. And we were actually able to get a discounted rate of about $15 by setting that alarm and being able to monitor when the flight prices went up and down. So another great tool within Skyscanner. Pick your destination. You picked the season you're going, you have a friend going with you, and now you've looked and booked your flight. The next thing I would typically do is look at hotels for those specific dates and times, and this really determines the overall itinerary by date. And I'll take that in tandem with going on Google and seeing what types of activities I can do in each city. It's super important to look at hotels, because what can happen, and I will tell you an anecdotal truth of sorts about what's happened to me. I booked a trip to Nashville. It was in November. I thought, we're going in a totally off season. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be cheap. Turns out the CMAs are in November. I had no idea. I thought they were in the summertime. And I ended up not being able to get any hotel in the city. We ended up having to stay super far away in a place we weren't very comfortable with. So just a story to hopefully ease your planning and make sure that you're getting the best you can from the hotel. So where to start with your itinerary? You're going to start in the city that you fly into. I like to not plan every minute. I'm a very type A person. Besides traveling, I get really type B when I travel and like to kick back and relax. I think there's probably something psychological with that. I don't know. Therapists out there, let me know. Hit me up. The thing I like to do when planning trips is create a bucket list. So creating a bucket list is really simple. I typically do it in a note on my phone, and that is separated by the cities I'm going to be visiting. So I will include things in my note like restaurants, places I'd love to take pictures or shoot, other types of activities that I'd like to accomplish. And once I have that bucket list in place, I then am looking at, okay, are these things that I need to book in advance? Typically don't love to do that, but you can run into situations where you are not prepared and can't book something right away. I actually had an experience like this when we were in Montana this past summer. We went llama trekking and ended up not being able to do it the day we initially planned, but we're able to do it another day. But we had to scramble to make sure we were getting there on time, as well as being able to have the right clothing. It's definitely important if it is kind of a bigger activity to be able to plan ahead for that, but not too much in the Catherine Rail sense. You can always plan it out by your bucket list itself and ensuring that you're going on places like Google Maps and starring the places you'd like to visit and calculating timing. The last thing you're going to want to do is ensure that there isn't any visas or anything that's going to hold you back in an airport from getting to your destination. But I've had a friend of mine who was flying in from New Zealand and actually did not have a visa that was required to enter said country, and ended up getting held up at the airport for 45 minutes to an hour. So definitely something to consider when visiting certain places. And finally, you're ready to go, ready to enjoy your trip. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was kind of jumbled all over there. I'm still getting used to the YouTube game after so many years off of here, but do hope that you enjoyed this little tidbit into how I typically plan trips, and have a great day. See you guys.